I've got a real gem for you today. Hi everyone, this is R.A. Sweeney. Welcome to Wordplay in the Word, where I share just interesting, exciting, funny, and like I always come back to, just interesting wordplay and nuances in language, things like that in the Bible, things that you might not catch just reading it in English. So today I wanted to talk about kind of a relationship between a couple of different passages in the Bible. So some of you might be familiar with the Eshet Khayil. It's Proverbs 31. It's actually not the whole of the chapter, but most of the chapter where the person writing it is talking about the ideal woman that anyone would be lucky to have, basically. So who women should want to be and who men should want to marry, sort of deal. So it's called the Eshet Khayil, which I translate as woman of power, because I think that's kind of a more literal translation of the words. It gets translated like woman of valor or different ways that people will translate that. But to me, Eshet is like honestly, I translate it, if I'm being really literal, I translate Eshet as like lady person, because Isha is woman, Eshet is a conjugation of that to me kind of makes it seem more like lady person, but that's not the best English or the most honoring of the idea. So it's a woman, and then Khayil refers to like power and strength and might and things like that. And so a lot of people shy away from that because it sounds like this warrior woman. But I think the idea of the passage is that this woman's power is in her like diligence and her attention to detail and her faithfulness to just take care of her whole house and allow them to prosper. And so some people I know will like look down on it, like, oh, well, it's just trying to make this woman, a subservient or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Like the woman here in this passage, she's not just the servant of the household. She's the one who is taking care of all the behind the scenes stuff so that everyone can go out and prosper. Honestly, I think of in my day job, my boss is kind of like this. Like, she does so much back work that those of us that are on the front lines are able to go out and do the actual work. And so because of the foundation she's laying, we're then able to be very successful. And so she's doing all the heavy lifting so that people can be successful. It's actually a lot more important than just like, oh, well, she's like picking up people's shoes and cleaning house. And it's like, no. She's setting everyone up for success. She's actually a lot more important and able to multiply the impact of her work because she's allowing me to go do work. She's allowing someone else to go do work. And so it's multiplying her work. It's a effective use of labor rather than a demeaning use of labor. And so anyway, but that's the Eshet Khayil poem at the end of Proverbs 31. There's like Proverbs 31 Ministries, which is all about like supporting women and becoming the Eshet Khayil. It's a very, very well-known passage and very linked with a lot of women's ministry type stuff. And so that's the woman of power, the woman of valor, or however you want to translate that. But it actually was a custom that this was a poem that would be read during the Sabbath in a lot of Israelite context, Jewish context, things like that. And some would do it every week, some would do it on special occasions, but it was associated with the Sabbath. So I have daughters, I have a wife, I have sons, and so I wanted to implement this in my family tradition. And so we're not always great about it. We don't do it on Friday night, which is when it would typically be done, because we're not Jewish, we're Christian. So I'm trying to honor the Sabbath and the day of the Lord, which are not the same day. And so I do it as Sabbath is ending and the day of the Lord is beginning. So that's Saturday night. And so it's still kind of connected with the Sabbath, but it's also connected with the day of the Lord. But we actually try to do this every week where I will read the Eshet Khayil to my whole family. It's awesome because, there's some color imagery in it that links up with some of my kids' favorite colors. I've added in a couple extra colors just to get the kids that didn't have their favorite colors in there. But so we're getting their favorite colors in there. There's a part at the end where it says that her sons stand up and declare her life to be good. So I make my oldest stand up and tell her that, and he always goes and gives her a hug, and it's a sweet moment for them. But it's this really cool practice that we do there. So we read it all the time. And we also, as a family, have just been going through the Old Testament, and right now we are in 1 Samuel, going through the story of Saul. But if you remember, the story of 1 Samuel actually starts with, before Saul, you've got the story of Samuel, and before Samuel's even born, you're getting the story of Samuel's parents. And so you've got Elkana is the man, and he has 2 wives, which is never a good thing. And the one is Peninnah, who is able to have children, and the other is Hannah, which is like the woman of favor, the woman of grace, and a great name there. And she's actually described as the Eshet Khayil that we see in Proverbs 31. But the cool thing, the wordplay that all this, I've been talking for a long time and trying to build up to this wordplay, is that in the beginning of the Eshet Khayil, it's a woman of power who can attain or find or whatever, and far better than cut jewels is her value. Well, the word cut jewels there is Peninnah. So Elkanah had the 2 wives. One of them was an Eshet Khayil, and the other one was named Cut Jewels. And in the Eshet Khayil poem, it's, who can find someone like Hannah, the Eshet Khayil? Her value is way better than Peninnah, the Cut Jewels. And so to me, it's like this great biblical slam on Peninnah, who was a jerk in the story, but is also kind of just contrasting. Like, you've got this woman who, yeah, she's able to have kids, but she's not nice, she's not good, she's just kind of an awful person, versus you've got this faithful and devoted and compassionate person who is very righteous, and she is that Eshet Khayil, but she wasn't able to have kids. And in their culture, she would have been that'd be the worst wife you could get, is someone who couldn't have kids for you, especially sons. And so in the Eshet Khayil, it's really just like commenting back on that story and a lot of other stories, but also on that story of, you've got this woman who is the Eshet Khayil juxtaposed with the woman named Cut Jewels, and it says like, way better to have a Hannah than a Peninnah sort of deal. So I just loved that. I don't know why I loved it so much, but when I noticed that the other day, I was reading the Eshet Khayil, I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure this word cut jewels is Peninnah, and then went and checked, and sure enough. And so just an interesting way that the whole Bible's kind of just knit together with these commentaries on itself. And some are commentaries about things that'll happen later, and some are commentaries that have happened before. And all of it just goes together to make these really cool pictures and themes and long-term pictures like that. So that's what I had for this week. I hope it's a blessing. If you've enjoyed these, please like, share, subscribe so that other people can join us as we dive into more just nuances in the Bible. But for now, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.